Welcome, everybody, to Chronicles of a Dallas County Democrat. I am your host, AZ Zion. In this podcast, we interview local activists and see how they got to where they are today. And in today's episode, we have longtime social justice activist Olinka Green. Olinka, say hi.
Hey y'all, hola, que paso, mi amigas? What's up? What's the business? How y'all doing? How your mommy doing? Hello there. How are you today?
I have a feeling this is probably going to be the most fun I've had recording one of these episodes. So thank you. All right, Olinka. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself with the audience?
Well, thank you so much for letting me be on here. It's an honor and a pleasure to be able to have my voice and my face seen to those that are out here. My name is Olinka Green. I was born um in April of 1969. I was born April 7th, 1969. I was born 1 year and 3 days after Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. So I always said in my mind that when Dr. King was assassinated, maybe my mommy and daddy got together and said, let's do some revolutionary love making and make a baby. So I got here. So I come from a very strange beginning. My mother, uh, I'm a rainbow baby. My mother had a child before me and it passed away. So it was I think like a long 12-year struggle before she had me. So I was very loved and very cared by my mother. And let's just put a pin in that because the shit's gonna get deeper. My mother, for some strange reason, decided she wanted to rob banks. So her and my stepfather, and me, when I was 9 months old, because their trail had got so hot here in Dallas that they had to go through Mexico and wind up in California. So my first 4 formative years were in California up under my mom and my stepdad. And I believe I was kind of like really small. And I remember going to a Black Panther meeting in California because they were in Los Angeles at that time. But I was the only child and my mother loved me graciously. And so I guess they were hiding out up under different identities and they passed me off as a boy for a moment in time. But I remember having all these toys and I remember having dogs and everything and I was well loved. And my mother says that I started reading when I was 3. So I've always been able to read. And when TV would come on, I would point and say, oh, look, mama, that's the Michelin Man. I can read his name. And we always had dogs. And she said that I was a very creative child. And she said one time how I got my nickname is that she had a dog and I decided to wash him. And to dry him off, I put him in the oven. I didn't cook him, but my mother grabbed him out the oven. And she said that I was so destructive that she would call me Vaboom. Now you remember that little commercial, he was on Felix the Cat, and he would walk through and he would say, Vaboom!
Yeah.
So that's how I got my name, Boom. So those who love me call me Boom. And I mean, you know, if you call me Boom, if you call me Boom, you're very, very close to me. So there's only 2 people in this world that call me Boom. That was my mommy, she's gone, and my sister calls me Boom. Nobody else gets to call me Boom. So after mama got locked up, my stepfather had to put me on an airplane by myself and I flew down here to Texas by myself. I was 4. And they had me living with some other people I don't know. But my first taste of violence was in the West Dallas Project. That was the moment in time where people were fighting, and the object that they would use to stab you with was a an ice pick. And I remember being 3 years old and a woman being stabbed in her jugular vein with an ice pick and living in the West Dallas Project. And that was my first taste of violence. And I never did like West Dallas because they had the big red ants and it smelled like pollution. And that came later on with the Dixie Smelter Plant. And that'll be in the story how I got familiar with Dixie Smelter Plant later on. So I was sent to live with these people And when my stepfather met me and picked me up, he took me to these people's house and he gave these people $50,000 to take care of me. And so I come out that vein of a woman matriculating, trying to make something better for herself by any means necessary. So I wind up with these people, and when I wind up with these people, they became my family. And watching TV, remember I told you I could read by the age of 3. Watching TV, I was very active on watching Channel 13 and watching different things and watching like documentaries about animals and different stuff. So my activism came around the 4th grade. I was watching television and there was this man on there talking about the albacore tuna. And the albacore tuna a tuna that's endangered. And he was like, these tuna are being killed for their meat and it's against the law and they slaughter these tuna and stuff. So I went and looked in the kitchen and I saw that we had Charlie tuna and the tuna was albacore tuna. Oh, we got, we got illegal meat in here. We got illegal tuna. So being my little activist self,
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm going to do something about this. So I went to school. It was on the weekend. The next day I went to school. I had a sign and I told my little classmates, I say, listen, if your mom and them got Charlie tuna in the house, tell them about this tuna and it's illegal meat and the killing of the albacore tuna. So I say, protest. I'm like in the 4th grade, I'm like, protest. Tell your mama don't buy this tuna because they're killing these albacore tuna. So I'm thinking that I'm going to get everybody on board. Come back to school next day. I'm not thinking that we on welfare and that you got to buy what your mama eat. So I asked everybody, okay, how did this go with your mom and them about the tuna and the men saying not eat it? And one little girl told me, she said, Olinka, she said, my mama on welfare, and if we gonna eat tuna, you can't. My mama told me to tell you to stay out of her goddamn kitchen because that's what she gonna cook. She gonna eat sun-kissed tuna. Charlie tuna. So you got to stay out of her goddamn kitchen because you're not in charge of nothing that my mama got going on. We on food stamps and she gonna buy what she gonna buy. So I understood the power that welfare, when you on welfare, you have to buy what is affordable for your family. So that's how I got into
Mm-hmm.
activism in the 4th grade. So going on in life, I wound up going to James Madison High School. And James Madison High School, they has a civic club. And they were talking about the pollution in West Dallas. And I remember being a little kid. Remember I told you about them stinky towers? Well, this was the
Mm-hmm.
Dixie
Absolutely.
smelter plant, and it was polluting.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment in time, the West Dallas projects was the largest project in America outside of Chicago. And so this Dixie
Mm-hmm.
smelter plant was there, and it was polluting all of West Dallas. And people were coming down with cancer. Kids were being born without arms. They had the highest rate of students with mental retardation or those that were in special ed in the United States. You know why? It's because of the lead. So they was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, we're going to go out here and we're going to sign people up here in West Dallas so they can get, because at the moment in time, the city of Dallas, now you got to remember, the lead smelter plant had been there since the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
West Dallas projects had been there since the 40s. So we're talking about the early,
Mm-hmm.
like 1984, 80, 83, 84 when I got involved. So it had been polluting for years and years. So they're like, well, we're going to go out here and we're going to tell people to see how they can get the city of Dallas to give them their medication to fight lead poison, to get lead poison tested. So we went out there and I helped the people get signed up to get lead testing and to get medication. And then those that were affected by the lead, the city of Dallas has to pay their medical bills for the rest of their life. And I have a friend right now who was born in the West Dallas projects. She's in her 60s. She's dying of cancer. All of her friends have died from cancer. Her mama died from cancer. Her brothers have died from cancer. So in high school, remember I told you, being a little kid, and that's where they dropped me off at. And then coming back when I'm 16 and doing the lead testing. So, but this time we did it and there was no ice picks in anybody's chest. So going on from there, I had my first child when I was 18, and then I had my second one when I was 21. And during that period in time, it was very difficult for me because I was in a domestic violence situation. And I got arrested fighting people back and trying to um just stay alive and have my dignity. And so I got arrested and they charged me 5 years for some stuff. And I had to go away for like 7 months. And when I got out, I was walking down the street one day. This had to be like 1990. It was 91. Now remember this, I'm telling you, this is 91. This is Rodney King getting ready
Uh-huh.
to kick off.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
This Rodney King, April, Rodney King. So I'm walking down the street and Rodney King hasn't happened yet. And these two young brothers come up to me and say, sister, we starting a new Black Panther party. We starting a new Black Panther party, and we want you to come to a meeting. Like Black Panthers? I'm like, yeah. See, because even though I was put into these people's house that I stayed in, I see myself as a Black nationalist. And the reason I say
Uh-huh.
that is because my school was all Black. My neighborhood was all Black. I didn't see white people until we went to downtown. And plus, I had Jesse Jackson on the radio every night telling me that I am somebody. You can be a garbage man, but guess
Uh-huh.
what? You are somebody. So I grew up with that every night before I went to bed. I am somebody. I might be a trash man, but I am somebody. You know, Juneteenth, we went to the park and we had red soda pop and we had barbecue, but we had somebody there standing and talking to us about the Emancipation Proclamation. It wasn't like this stuff right now. All this stuff right now is plastic. We had the real Juneteenth. And our real Juneteenth started that whole month. You know, we go to church and they talk to us and they tell us about being Black and proud. And so I had Black teachers. Remember, I told you I could read when I was like 3. I had my teachers telling me that the
Uh-huh.
Tigris and the Euphrates, which is Garden of Eden, was in Africa. We learned more about ourselves than Rosa Parks and Jackie Robinson. We was learning about Mansa Musa, who set down the gold standard. We learned about Shaka Zulu. We learned about Dessalines. We learned about Toussaint L'Ouverture. We learned about Harriet Tubman. We learned about George Washington Carver. We learned about everybody in my Black school. Because the school district that I went to was because of revolution, because of intimidation, because when Black people start building houses in South Dallas after the Korean War and World War II, they were buying homes and
Uh-huh.
white folks started blowing them up. So
Uh-huh.
what happened is that the White Citizen Council said, okay, listen, if you Negroes don't riot, we will build you your own section of homes, school districts, and everything, and you ain't got to come back over here and bother us. So what happened is that 2 things happened. Hamilton Park was developed way to the furthest of the north, to the
Yep.
farthest north, and then Highland Hills was built. My family matriculated to
Mm-hmm.
Highland Hills. We had our
Mm-hmm.
own Black school district. We had swimming pools. We had grocery stores. We didn't have to come that way. We didn't have anything. So that's why I got my activism in, is being in school and learning that you are somebody. From kindergarten all the way up to high school, we knew we were somebody. So this stuff came natural to
Yeah.
me. So when they took me, when I went to the Martin Luther King Center, they showed me, I met the brothers that were getting ready to start. His name was Aaron Michaels and David Foreman. And they took me into a room and they showed me something I had never seen before. I said, what is this? They said, this is political education. And they put a film on. Now I'm 21 when I get out. They put this film on of this brother named Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. And I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm like, this dude is 21? And they killed him
Uh-huh.
when he was 21. And everything that he was doing, the free lunch program that we was getting in school, the Panthers started that. The WIC program, the sickle cell, the shoe program, the grocery programs, taking people to prison, all of this. And you know, they had guns for self-defense, but you know what scared the shit out of J. Edgar Hoover? Was him feeding the children. Because how does an army
Uh-huh.
How does an army run? It don't run on guns. It runs on its stomach. So if you feed the children will follow you. And they felt like the feeding these children, the schools wasn't feeding these children. That's why children had so low intelligence, because they weren't given free lunch. The Panthers had to do that. So that's why today when little kids have free lunch, there's no free lunch anymore. Parents have to pay for that. But when I was in school, there was free lunch. It was because of the Black Panther Party. And I saw all this what this brother was doing, and I was mesmerized. I was like, what? And then he spoke. He said, I don't know if I can get it right, but every time I said, I get chills. He said, when I die, I'm not going to die in an airplane crash. He said, when I die, I'm not going to die in a car crash. He said, when I die, I'm going to die high off the people. He said, I'm a revolutionary. And you're going to have to get used to saying that. I am the people. I am not the pigs. He said, if you live for the people, you got to die for the people. And that's when that brother said that, I said, I want that. I want to be 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 that. And that's how I got started. And after that, they showed the film of him being assassinated in bed with his pregnant wife. And they showed how he worked with the GDs, the Gangster Disciples, the Black Pea Stone Rangers, how he got the white Appalachian cats together. And he said, say, man, let me tell you something. He said, only difference, when he went to meet the white folks, he said, let me tell you something, man. He said, let me tell you something. Your kids starving too? He said, you living in shitty houses? They say, yeah. He said, so what are you complaining about? You getting the same shit that we getting. The government ain't honoring you. So he was the first one to really, really bring that together. And he had Operation Breadbasket. And after he got killed, who picked up Operation Breadbasket? Jesse Jackson. You see him at King's funeral out in the dashiki with the shirt on, talking about I wiped the blood on me and this, that, and other. And Coretta did not like his ass. Because you know why? Dr. King told him, he said, listen, Jesse, if you want to do your own shit, man, go on. Leave me alone. That's why Dr. King was smoking all them Salems. All them Salems that was not filtered. Jesse was touching his ass. So when you see him at Dr. King's funeral, and he's sitting up there in them overalls looking shit, Coretta looking at him with the stink eye, nigga, we know who you is. So when Fred Hampton died, Jesse came with Operation Breadbasket. Next you see him with the big afro and the dashiki on, talking about Black Power. He stole that shit. But during that period of time, in April of 1991, 92, that's when Rodney King kicked off. And this when shit got real serious with me. I probably was like I think it was only like 2-3 women in the new Black Panther Party here in Dallas. So what happened was that when they beat Rodney King, we all looking at it. And when the verdict came down, before the verdict came down, this is so crazy. This is what John Wiley Price come in. But this is my first run-in with the Department of Justice. When the verdict got ready to come down, I don't know if you know what Dixon Circle is at, but
Absolutely.
young Black
South
boys,
Dallas.
and remember, all revolutions start with young people. I'm 21. All of them young Black boys over there had got Molotov cocktail bottles like this. Remember I told you I had visuals? And filled it with alcohol. Look just like this. 40-ounce bottles filled with alcohol. And there was conversation going on in the community that when the white folks got off work after that verdict was coming down, they was going to get Molotov. Every gun in Dallas had been bought up. There was a massive call, say, listen, we need you Black Panthers to come over to the Martin Luther King Center. And so we like, what we coming over there for? Is like, the man that I was dealing with, he was like, I got the Department of Justice. I got Officer, I think his name was Officer Ben Click at that time. He was chief of police. And it was a great big old round table of all of these officials because Dallas was going to burn up. Dallas was finna look like a Ferguson. And see, the last time you had something like that was when Santos Rodriguez got murdered back in July of 1973. When Hispanics and Blacks got in the street and burnt stuff up, it was going to be worse than that. So they gathered us all up in this room, and they was talking about, the verdict and about poverty and this, that, and other, and how they was going to do this, that, and the other. They was just really trying to quell us. And I remember being this little short Black woman And listening to all these people get up there and talk, because remember, we had power. All we had to do was just go say, but they was worried about the city being burnt up. And they called us all in. And I remember being this little bitty black woman, me, scared, 21 years of age, same age as Fred Hampton. And I remember getting up there, and for some strange reason, I told him, I said, let me tell you something. I don't believe none of you hoes. I don't believe none of you. I said, but you are at this table, so apparently you know what we can do. Apparently you know the power that we have. So you came to talk to us. We didn't come and talk to you. And the only thing I could tell him, I say, these are our demands. This is what we want here in this city. If you don't want these situations. And I remember telling him, don't pimp our people. Don't pimp our people. And because of this great sit down between the Department of Justice and Ben Click and the mayor and all these people, the city of Dallas did not burn. But we knew that we had the power to do it because they came to us. We didn't come to them. And I was 21.
So really quickly, Olinka, you touched on so much there, and I kept writing all the things that you were saying, the questions and whatnot. So I think by now people know that you know what the hell you're talking about. So you've been through it all. Let's take a step back a little bit. That brief moment in time when you were in California, you mentioned your mom was in the Black Panther Party over there.
No, she took me to see them.
She took you to see them. Gotcha. Was that pretty much the seed that was planted in your mind for years later you would join the Black Panther Party in Texas? The seed
really was when the young boys took me to see Fred Hampton Jr. Remember, and I'm telling you about Jesse Jackson and all them. I didn't know nothing about Fred Hampton. So when he spoke, and to this day, I still get chills when I hear him speak. When he said, when I die, he knew that he was going to die. When we watched that movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, he knew it. And he said, when I die, he said, I'm not going to die in an airplane crash. He said, when I die, I'm not going to die in a car crash. He said, when I die, he said, if you live for the people, you got to die for the people. He said, I'm a revolutionary, and you're going to have to get used to saying that. And I knew that was planted in my head. Anything else that I thought about being, if I thought about being a ballerina, if I thought about being an ice cream man, if I thought about being a nurse, no, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be that.
Why do you think it affected you so much? Like, if you had any sort of other inkling of a career path, like a ballerina or whatever, but you saw, you had that moment, why did it affect you so much? Was there something that, you wanted to be an activist that told you wanted to be an activist?
What I saw was the brutality that had been happening to my people ever since they got here. The brutality that I saw when I was locked up in jail. The brutality that I read about in school. The brutality of watching Emmett Till's body being brought back home from Money, Mississippi. The brutality of being a little girl and 3 black boys during Juneteenth down in Mahia, Texas, who were caught smoking weed, and the sheriffs put them in a boat to take them to the other side of the river, and the boat overturned and they were handcuffed and all 3 of them drowned. And there was never no recourse. There was never no justice. That was parts of those seeds. And he just helped me realize that I had to be part of something to make this thing be made known and plain that this was happening, and to be the voice of it. You know how some people say that's my muse, or that's my spiritual totem. He was my charge. He was my charge, because I was just out here floating around. I had been through all of these things, just touching on stuff as a kid. But when I actually saw that this man was murdered for providing free lunches for children, who wouldn't want to be an activist for that?
And you're right, 21 years old.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I thought 21 was old. But now as a fully grown adult, I'm like, 21? Like, he's a kid.
Yeah.
I wonder how many 21-year-olds nowadays are doing that.
And the FBI had a file on him ever since he was 14. And seeing the brutality and the beating of Rodney King. And then they let these crackers go? You let them walk? But NWA have been
Mm-hmm.
telling us for years, fuck the police. These brothers
Mm-hmm.
just weren't, on a record, just, talking some shit they didn't know. We finally got to
Mm-mm.
see the police. We finally got to
Mm-hmm.
see the battle ram. We finally got to see, they was making songs. I don't know if you know about it. Battle ram. They would take the whole battle ram and just turn down the whole house. I have a book called the glass. I got a book called City of Crystal. Have you ever heard of it? Have you ever
I
heard
have
of
not.
City of Crystal? Let me. I know we got time, but I'm gonna go run and get it. I'm gonna go run and get it.
Okay. Okay, sure.
Okay, so now this is Ebony Pictorial of Black History, Civil Rights, and the Black Revolution. The library was throwing this out in the trash. I grabbed this. You're not gonna
Mm.
find this no more.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
it talks about, you can't really see it, but it talks about the Black Panther Party. It talks about all the greatness. But this is Civil Rights Movement to Black Revolution, Part 3. So these are the type of encyclopedias that were coming into my home as a kid. This is
Mm-hmm.
also the 1973 yearbook. It's got sports. It's got Jesse Jackson. It's got black men in the army. All of the things that they're taking away from us, it's in this book. All the political gains that black people
Mm-hmm.
made were made in the early 70s. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now this right
Mm-hmm.
here, this is by this is called The Social Oppression of Black Children by Dr. Eugene Usini Perkins. It talks about, a lot of those places in Chicago right now where kids are being killed at. He was writing about what those children were going through in Chicago. So when we see all those killings and shootings, like they just had a woman that was shot yesterday with her baby in the car. She took over 50 bullets. Dr. Eugenie Perkins was talking about those children. And so the children that we're seeing now that are doing the killing, these were their grandfathers. And it talks about the violence,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Talks about the hustler, the all of that. So this is what he talks about off in here. It's the makeup of the gangs. Okay. And it's called The Social Oppression of
Mm-hmm.
Black Children. And you probably won't find this. But this is from Third World Press,
Mm-hmm.
which comes from Chicago, Cottage Grove, a black press. And so this one right here, it's called We Will Shoot Back. Armed Resistance in Mississippi and the Freedom Movement. Now, we down with these people right here. When we talk about the Republic of New Africa, these people are talking about we will shoot you back. So you got all these gun clubs now. People, gun clubs like the Huey P. Newton Gun Club and this, that, and the other. These people were already, expounding on their rights. You used to have a lot of Negroes in the NRA. We used to call it the Nigger Rifle Association, niggas with guns. That was one of the books that was very, very powerful to me. Him and his wife, I think Mabel White, they were some profound black people. It was a riot that happened, and some white folks got came through their neighborhood and they took the white people into the house, and then they tried to say that they kidnapped the white people, but they didn't. And so everybody in that neighborhood where Mr. Robert Williams lived at, everybody had guns because black self-defense. So right now when we're talking about taking guns to protest and all this, you had the deacons of defense. You had brothers who always had guns. You know what I'm saying? There was 2 or 3 things that you had at your house. You had back in the farm day, you had chickens and you had guns. One gonna feed you, and
Mm-hmm.
another one gonna make it happen. You know what I'm saying? So this right here is
Mm-hmm.
called "We Will Shoot Back," and it talks about Mississippi. And now you know that they have a black mayor in Mississippi. So this is called "We Will Shoot Back." This is the silent
Yeah.
majority.
Yeah.
This is talking about the Rockefeller drug laws and the politics. Powerful book, because right now what you have, remember when they had 3 strikes and you out with Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton? This is the Rockefeller. This is the Rockefeller law. So yeah, so real deep. So the
Okay.
drug laws
Yeah.
that we got right now, Rockefeller did. The
Mm-hmm.
other one is called
Mm-hmm.
Look for Me in the Whirlwind. This is the from the Panther 21 to 21st Century Revolutions. This is the Bible for the Black Panthers. Tell you about everybody. So this is right here. Marcus Garvey said when he died, he said, look for me in the whirlwind. He said, wrap my coffin up in the red, black, and green. That's what he was talking about. He said, because I'm going to come back as a whirlwind. So this is a good book. This is called Look for Me in the Whirlwind. And this one is called The City of Quartz. Very important book. It talks about the prison system in Los Angeles, the social history in both utopia and dystopian place, where they talk about building the prisons made out of quartz, the city made out of the excavating the future in Los Angeles. And guess who was in here? Darrell Gates. And guess who Darrell Gates was? Darrell Gates was a police officer during the O.J. Simpson trial. But guess who Darrell Gates came up under? Darrell Gates came up under, I forget this white boy name, that was the Los Angeles Police Department. If you ever see that movie,
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So this is how this go down. This is how it goes down. But these are the books that I read.
Yeah.
So just going into that and understanding where it gets started at. If you have a sense of direction, it can take you where you need to go. Like we always say, follow the money. You know what I'm saying? So when I read that about Fred Hampton, it charged me. It put me in a certain place that a lot of times, sometimes I regret that I got into. And then when I look back at it, I was like, damn, I was really there. I was really in that.
So talk about it. First, I want to kind of get a sense. When did you start becoming a bibliophile? When did you start reading all those books? Was it after seeing Fred Hampton?
3.
Oh, at 3, when you started reading, you started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. You mentioned that you had a sit down with government officials and you were making demands of them. Kind of expound on that. Drill into that a little deeper. I want to kind of figure out what you guys were doing.
Well, the government officials, when we came in, we demanded better grocery stores in South Dallas. We demanded Black education from the school board to put Black history into the schools. We demanded that there be no, at that moment in time, Dallas was up under a consent decree because there was this Black woman named Miss Etta Collins. John Conyers had to come down here and test and get with the city of Dallas because there was an 80-year-old woman over in South Dallas named Miss Etta Mae Collins. And Miss Etta Mae Collins got up one night and there was a prowler in her home, and she had an old-timey pistol trying to defend her home. And she got up and went to the door with her pistol. And remember what I told you about Robert Williams niggas with guns, right? I'm saying? So you got an old Black woman living in a house by herself. She got a dog and she got a pistol because she come from the country and she been told to what? Defend herself. And daddy, like Beyonce's daddy say, daddy taught her how to shoot. She got up and she went to the door after she called the police. And when she got to her screen door, the police saw her with a gun and they shot her 5 times.
Kind of the same thing that happens nowadays as well.
Right. So Dallas was put up on a consent decree that any gun that the federal government had to take over the police department. So we wanted to make sure at that moment in time that, there would be no more Miss Etta Collins. But what they also had on the books, Dallas had what they call a chokehold. They were choking brothers to death. And we wanted that off the books. Now you got to understand something about Dallas. And this just came to pass about 2 weeks ago. Dallas had a police policy called property over people. You could be walking down the street and the police ask you where you get that TV from and shoot you in your back. Dallas has, they say that you could prosecute a ham sandwich here in Dallas. The first Black woman to be hanged in the city of Dallas was a woman named Jane Elkins. And she was lynched. She was tried and hung for killing her slave master who had raped her. So when you go through the history of Dallas, they've always been chopping us off, killing us and Mexicans. But in 1956, I believe, this case just happened, 57. There was a Black man named Tommy Lee Walker who was accused of raping and killing a white woman. Tommy Lee Walker was at work at the hospital with his wife when this happened. But his employer, all the black men, including my daddy, was rounded up and taken down to the Dallas Police Department and interrogated about the killing of this white woman. Tommy Lee Walker's boss turned to me 4 months later. They picked up Tommy Lee Walker. They interrogated Tommy Lee Walker, possibly beat Tommy Lee Walker, and made him sign a confession. Henry Wade was a horrible, 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 horrible man. Basically got up there and prosecuted Tommy Lee Walker, and then got up to the stage. He was known for his antics. He was the longest sitting DA in the history of Dallas, all the way from 1952 to 1972. But anyway, he called him a nigger up there. Anyway, they took an hour to get a confession and an hour to find this boy guilty. They put in the newspaper what he was gonna wear when he be executed. They put in his last meal, and my daddy say that they executed. They took his balls off. Daddy say they castrated him. But my father told me, he said, Olinka, never forget Tommy Lee Walker. 1957 of 1956, 2026, they finally come up and they exonerate him after they have electrocuted him. His son was 2 years old, I think 2 years old. And the little white boy who the white lady that died had a little boy. They had never met each other. They finally met each other in court. And Tommy Lee Jr. got to see his daddy sit in the same courtroom that we were sitting in and talk about that he didn't do this. And it brought him to tears because this man is 75 years old and he was still crying for his daddy. And his mother became an alcoholic and she died. And he said, I miss my daddy. So knowing that they willingly killed his father, round up all these black men, that's what I was saying when I was in there with those officials, that this has to stop, and it never did. But those were the demands. But the chokehold, we asked that the chokehold be stopped, but they didn't do it. They really didn't do anything after that. So when Alan Simpson was choked to death by Dallas Police Department, my friend DK Derek Brown, he's gone, he was Black Panther, we protested and we met with them and we told them we were going to take our shit to the streets, and they removed the chokehold. So we did do something. The other demands were, that we have transparency when police shoot black and brown people, to get bad officers off of the force, which they have not did. Now I think it's a little bit better, but when you had these bad cops and you remove them, they just go to another force. We see that with the ICE agents. We see these cops who have been horrible police officers. Now they show up on the ICE dock. That's the type of thing, that we were asking for.
First of all, I always wanted a Dallas historian on my show, and I think I finally got one. So thank you for all that insight. I want to take it to the lead smelter plant, the Dixie plant in West Dallas, where you were living. Did you have any direct activism work there?
Yeah. We came back in 2021 during COVID, and we led what was called the first environmental racism tour here in Dallas. And I got to go to Washington, D.C. and to testify at the EPA about the lead smelter plant. But ours was about the toxic waste and brown site over here in my neighborhood. We had a plant that had been there since the 1950s, and it had been polluting the community. People had been having cancer. People were dying. It was horrible. And so we went to Washington, D.C., and we testified EPA, and they came back and they did testing of the ground. They put a fence over the ground, and they tore the building down. So that land can never ever be used. But we talked about we put people on the bus. And the place is called Lane Plating. And we took people on the bus. The NAACP was
Mm-hmm.
on the bus. One of my good friends, you might know him, his name General Honore. He's the man that went into New Orleans with the infantry and got everything running. He's a raging Cajun. He was on the bus. And it was awesome. And we went to Lane Plating, we went to West Dallas, and we showed them where the lead Dixie smelter plant was at. And then we went to Fan Branch, where it still does not have water. And people was like, these people been here for like 50 years and they never had water. So we got a
Yeah.
wonderful award for that. Very, very happy that we got an award for that. But remember, I told you now, it
Yeah.
started in the West Dallas Project, high school, and then coming back and meeting people that were dying of cancer, had open sores on them because the lead was eating away at them.
What is your current activism work now?
I am real revolutionary. Thank you for asking me that. Guess what I'm doing? Remember I told you I had visuals? Remember I told you I had visuals?
You have visuals, yes, ma'am.
I'm doing the most revolutionary shit that you can do.
What is it?
I'm growing vegetables.
A community garden?
Yeah, I'm working a full-fledged garden, brother, and this is my turnip.
How long have you done that?
It'll be a year in June, but have to stick to the script, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Views of American economy growth in the agriculture era. And guess what's in here? Slavery! The Southern Economy by Kenneth Stamps. The Profit and the Loss by Lewis E. Everton. So this talks about slavery in the South during the 1800s to 1865, which was what? The Civil War. Yep, the economics of slave agriculture. So right now what I'm doing, profit and loss. What I'm doing right now is I am an apprentice. I'm an apprentice farmer. I'm learning how to grow vegetables. I
Okay.
work on a 1 acre farm. I help grow the produce.
Where is this farm?
It's over in East Dallas. It's called Liberty Street Farm.
Okay.
I help grow the vegetables. I help maintain the vegetables. I work in the greenhouse. I do compost. I do mulching. I do pruning. I do harvesting. I do planting. And right now I'm working on my biology, science, agriculture, and farming certification.
Are you
And
taking that at El Centro?
no, I'm taking that at this kitchen table right now. But I got a $2,500 scholarship. So I'm
Congratulations.
thinking about two things. I'm thinking about taking biology and ecology, but I'm also looking at becoming a global trade specialist. And that means learning how to trade e-commerce, learning how to trade internationally and locally, exporting, import, freights, learning about how to write international receipts, dockets, how to receive stuff from international countries. And so it will give me an opportunity to meet with people from China, um, different type of World Banks, World Trade, Women Leadership of Texas, Southern Dallas Chamber of Commerce. So it's a lot. Bank of America. So it's a big hookity dookie. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
I got involved volunteering wise with the Oak Cliff Veggie Project last year, and I
Yeah.
learned a lot and I loved it. Do you and I had this before I started volunteering for them last year, but I kind of have the opinion that I think everyone should be autonomous in a way. Everyone should learn how to sustain themselves. Do you kind of
Hmm.
come at it from that angle as well?
Yeah, because you can't see it, but my kitchen table, I got black-eyed peas that I harvest. I got collard greens and mustard greens in there that I harvest. I mean, if shit go down, I got seeds. I know how to feed myself. I know how to feed myself. I know how to grow
Yeah, you
collard
got a whole
greens and
storage of
beans.
seeds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There
I
you
got,
go.
I got
That's
powdered
and
milk.
sweet potatoes. Put some sweet potatoes in there
Yeah,
too.
you wanna see the sweet potatoes I grew?
Please, I want to see them.
You see it?
There you go. That's a big one. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I can find that at the store, to be honest with you. That's that's pretty hefty.
So my thing is you gotta have guns and you gotta have seeds. 'Cause either which way is gonna protect you. You're gonna survive. You got a gun and we're getting chickens. We're getting chickens. We're getting
Really?
chickens.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting chickens.
Okay.
So
S-
yeah, I think Imma be okay. I think Imma be okay. But
No,
like I said,
that's awesome.
it's always been about survival with me. And I get soft right here because my mama going to prison when I was 4. I had to grow up real fast. I had to grow up. I was put into a house of people that, and I kind of get emotional here. But I grew up in a house with people that were supposed to love me and take care of me, and they abused me. So I had to figure out how to survive at 4. I had to figure out how to stay out the way, keep my head low so it didn't get kicked in. And that's sad for a 4-year-old to have to go through that. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
and I didn't have nobody. I
Yeah.
didn't have nobody to lean on. But the things I did have to lean on, the things that I did have to lean on, I had books, I had television, I had teachers who loved me and saw that there was something in me worth pushing along. I had elderly Black women in my community. When shit got rough, I had elderly Black women in my community who opened up their doors for me. They would fix me peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I kicked peanut butter and jelly. And I would sit down and they would let me eat peanut butter and jelly. They would let me read their ebony magazines that was on the coffee table. They would let me watch Channel 13, Great American Playhouses, Zora Neale Hurston, uh, Green Pastures. They just let me be a kid for a little while. And I didn't have to be afraid. I didn't have to be scared that somebody was gonna come in and tell me to shut up. Or
Do you think the loss of your mother at such a young age, do you think that has contributed to your activism trying to look out for other people, people who
yeah,
might not have
yeah,
everything?
yeah. Because I was bullied as a kid. I was bullied as a child, outside and inside the house. So, like I said, I didn't have nobody to lean on. I had just, I had books. As long as I had my head in a book, you know, or the old ladies down the street took care of me. They were my mamas. So it helped me to understand what community could look like. Community and love could be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to a little kid who needed it, because I'm 4 and I'm walking to old ladies' houses and knocking on their doors. I wonder what this site looked like. I'm 56 now, and I wonder what is it? How would I react? I'm 56, and a 4-year-old come knock on my door. I'm gonna be like, "Who your people? Why you at my door?" And I'm gonna sit back and like, it's got to be something really, really terrible for a 4-year-old to come to my house and want to sit down and talk to me and have peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And at 4, 5, and 6, I'm articulating political stuff. Because guess what was going on when I was about that age? Jimmy Carter's getting ready to be president. Gerald Ford.
Hmm.
And we're coming out of the Nixon era. So my political, and you're going to laugh at this. Well, no. Guess who my political go-to was?
When you were 4, 5, 6 years old?
Yeah, guess who my political go-to was? My political teachers were.
Your political teachers, I would assume MLK. I mean, you
Nope.
were born right after his assassination.
Mm-mm.
No?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. That's not who I was getting
Okay.
political education from. Nope. I was getting political education from Walter Cronkite. He was still alive. Dan Rather, Archie Bunker, and Hustler magazine.
That is quite the spectrum. You said Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather. Okay, cool. You know, you watch them on TV, and then you say Archie Bunker. That's a controversial one, but I want to drill a little bit into that. And then you get Hustler magazine. You're 6 years old, Olinka. Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing?
But you remember I can read, right?
Yeah, you sure can.
Now, and that's how I learned about physiology and anatomy.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, you got to get
Okay?
them early, I suppose.
And my uncle had Hustler magazine in his room. And Hustler magazine, if you could pull the pages away, the ones that were sticky, I don't know why they were sticky. I never did try to find why pages was certain pages in that magazine was sticky. I never tried to find out why. I didn't want to know why them pages were sticky in that magazine. But anyway, Hustler magazine had political commentary in there. And I used to read the political. I wasn't looking at the boobies and none of that. I wasn't interested in none of that. That wasn't my thing. I wanted to know what the social commentary was, because once you moved away from the ass and the tits, the stuff got political.
So, what was the social commentary in Hustler magazine in the early to mid 70s?
It was talking about Republicans, Democrats. It was talking about rights to women choices, women's bodies,
Right.
war.
Yeah.
You know, just from what I could gather. You know what I'm saying? I remember words like press
Yeah.
secretary, Speaker of the House. And I was wondering why these men in the Hustler magazine. But I
Uh-huh.
used to read it because I found the politics very, very interesting. Because that stuff, we in 2026, politics and ass, politics and sex has always been there. They go hand in hand. Everything is
Yeah.
political.
Sure has.
Everything is
Yeah,
political.
sure has. What
Sex is
about Archie
political.
Bunker? I want to know about that.
I learned about race from Archie Bunker. I learned about bigotry from Archie Bunker. You know, the Jeffersons was next door. I learned about conservatism
Absolutely.
from Archie Bunker. I learned about Nixon
Mm-hmm.
and Eisenhower and WW2. And I learned about draft dodgers like Mike Stivic.
Mm-hmm.
I learned about when Sammy Davis kissed Archie Bunker. I learned about that Archie
Mm-hmm.
Bunker had the first trans man who was Edith's friend on the show. I learned about mental illness. I learned about being Jewish and how Archie felt about Jews, kikes and spicks and all of this. I learned about unions. And when the man broke in the house and I learned about sexual assault from Archie Bunker. When the man broke in the house and tried to sexually assault Edith, I learned about that. So Archie was my teacher. So every night I sat right there and I watched Saturday night. I would watch Archie Bunker.
Was your family okay with you watching
Wasn't
this
giving
and
a
reading
shit
these
about what I
magazines
was
and
watching. I wasn't giving a shit about what I was watching. Remember I told you, long as I stayed out the way, they wasn't checking for me. And see, and that goes into now. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't checking for Shawty. And that's the new book that just came out about that girl that R. Kelly pissed on. It's a new book called Who
Yeah.
Checking on Shawty? Nobody was checking on me.
Mm.
I was kind of left in my own little world. Long as I didn't talk or get in the way, or stayed in my books or kept my head in my
Yeah.
room, I was okay. Because I learned real early them niggas was trying to kill me. I
Did you
learned
instill
resilience.
those kinds of values to your two kids?
Yeah. But I those two right there are totally different. One is like the moon and the other one is like
Mm.
a comet that's traveling really, really fast. But they're very, very different. But like I told you, I was locked up when I had my kids. So other people had to take care of my kids. But our bond is good now.
Mm-hmm.
You know. They real quiet, you know, they do all, you know, I got one that's very, very low key, and I got one that's Mr. Popularity. but mess with their mama and they coming. So being in the Black Panther Party, they were very young. So, I used to take them with me all the time, but they don't remember none of that. But later on, when I really started getting into going into stuff like Jasper, where the James Bird's body was torn apart, uh my kids might have remembered that I was involved in that. Jenna, where they put the rope at the high school where where the black kids was going. Um, Sandra Bland, uh, Brandon Washington, whose body was ripped apart in Paris, Texas. They were out in elementary, like junior high school. So I never took them with me, anything like that. And their name is different than mine.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because if the FBI or them people came looking for me, they couldn't get my kids because their names were different. So like when the 5
Mm-hmm.
police
Yeah.
officers got shot downtown, that was a lot of stuff. Cause I didn't know the brother. I was in the Caribbean the first time that he started coming around. Uh, but when he got shot, when he did that, when he shot those police officers, I was part of that protest. I was part of planning that protest. So a lot of people got put up under the knife or got pulled in for when, he did what he did. So I felt the heat so bad that I left the country for like 8 months. I went somewhere else
You're talking
until
about the
shit cleared
July
up.
2016
Yeah,
incident.
yeah, July 7th, yeah. I left. I left the country and went
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else for a
Mm-hmm.
minute, which was smart, you know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I learned resilience. Like I said, you imagine being a 3-year-old kid taken from your mama and dropped off with some folks that you don't know, put into a place where you were abused and mistreated. Kind of sound like ICE. You deported from your homeland and you sent to someplace else. You like putting in a detention camp, keep your head low, stay the fuck out the way. Not like that.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody was looking for Shorty.
Yeah.
And during that moment in time, I had family members that were beating the shit out of me. And I had family members that were trying to get in my drawers. Because nobody was checking on Shorty. So I know what that feels like. And nobody checking on you. Nobody looking out for you. So I had to learn how to look out for myself. I had to be my own. I had to be my own, which, no kid should have to grow up hard like that. No girl child, no boy child, but it's hard on a girl child. It's very, very hard on a girl child because you always got to be hyper vigilant, even in your relationships when you get older. There are certain triggers that flare up when you get into relationships because you've been abused so much. Certain triggers that you have to watch out for. You know what I'm saying? You never can really trust. You never can really open yourself up to somebody because you know from the beginning that you had that trauma. And it takes a real long time to help with that trauma. So when you're an activist and you constantly dealing with people being killed, you constantly having this foot on your neck or this cloud over your head or being watched, by everybody, surveillance of everybody, it can take a toll on you. Takes a toll on you. And it took a toll on me in my relationships. It took a toll on me in my finances. It took a toll on me in uh boys relationships with my children. It took a toll on me spiritually, it took a toll on me physically. And nobody talks about that. Now, when we see Dr. King, he was 39 years old, and they say he had the heart of an 80-year-old man. It takes a toll on you. But nobody really talks about that. Nobody really talks about those things, that can kill you. If the bullet don't kill you, then the stress will kill you. You dig what I'm saying? So when you ask me, like, what am I doing now? Farming is a way for me to fight off the stress and take away that trauma. You know what I'm saying? Of the things that I've been through. So, like really understanding stress and trauma. What's the difference? You know what I'm saying? What's stress? What's trauma? So you have to understand, like, children stress moving to a new school, taking tests, making new friends, a new sibling arriving, arguing with friends, adults, work deadlines, dealing with coworkers, talking exams, presenting challenge, moving to a new city. What's an example of traumatic experience? Abuse and neglect, disasters and terrorism, traumatic
Hmm.
separation. All of these things are traumas. And so just the things that we talked about in the little time that we have been chatting, I've been up under stress and trauma ever since I got here.
If someone were to approach you who's going through stress, who's dealing with trauma, what is the biggest piece of advice you can give them?
Get counseling. Go see somebody that can help you understand what you're going through, that will listen to you and help guide you through that. And don't wear that coat by yourself. I mean, don't try to tote that by yourself. But understand what stress and trauma is, and really, really find somebody. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to, let that out. But it's also okay to heal. There's no bullets.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no feet on my neck when I'm planting potatoes. When I see onions come up, I see something that my hands is in that I'm helping grow. There ain't no oppression. There ain't no police telling me what I can grow. But there is, out there right now, because, a lot of black people got land and, they've been stealing black people's land. But when I'm out there on the earth, when I'm out there in the dirt and I'm on my knees and I'm putting my fingers down off in the ground and I'm putting seeds down off in there while I'm listening to hoodoo music, and I see the onions come up, and I see the carrots come up, I see the okra come up. I know that I'm part of God's plan. And that's
Sure. It's
revolutionary to
it's your
grow
quiet
food.
time.
Yeah, it's revolutionary.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, sure is. Well, you are definitely a revolutionary, Olenka. You've done a lot more than what most people can say, and I think you know that as well. What do you consider your biggest accomplishment?
My two sons, Daryl and Montreal, those my biggest accomplishments. I created two human beings. I can grow sweet potatoes and I can make
Yeah.
babies.
Yeah.
But yeah, my children are my biggest accomplishments. Those are the best things that I
Yeah.
could ever grow.
Whenever I ask that, or whenever you hear like an interview where the person asks that of his guest or her guest, it always comes back to their family. It always comes back to their kids specifically. No matter what great things they've done in the world, their proudest accomplishments always comes back to their kids. I think we all
Mm,
need to remember that
yeah.
for sure.
And I want to say something else too. My mom and my daddy, I wish my mom and daddy could have been here because I turned out to be a good
Hmm.
woman. I wish my
Yeah.
mom and daddy could see me, but I know that they do. I know that they're proud of me. And I want to give a shout out to
Yeah.
somebody who I'm watching grow into a decent human being. And I had to plant him too. I've had to watch him grow. Is my roommate Vincent Green. I wanna shout out to Vincent. He he's growing. And so you gotta have good people that support you. To tell you, you can do that, Linka. Go ahead. Don't be afraid. You can do that. I want to say that to my friend Vincent. We might fight like cats and dogs, but he supports me and he's a good friend of mine. So I just want to put that out there.
Who's who's that person in your life, Olinka? Who's that person, that mentor, so to speak, who's pushing you? You could do that, Olinka. Who was that person?
I think there's been a multitude of them. Some of them are gone, some are still here. But one of the people that really cared about me and wanted to see me shine was George Keaton with Remembering Black Dallas. He always treated me kind. Ashura Toshaway, who was
Mm,
one of the original bookstore owners of Black Images, which was a powerful Black bookstore. It brought in all sorts of people: Dr. John Henry Clark, Isa Van Sertima, Maya Angelou. I mean, she was one of those people that I was telling you about when I was little, that I could go and sit in her bookstore, and she would sit and talk to me. Miss Annie Mims, she cared for me. Um, but right now, I think I got a plethora of people that look out for me. If I have a problem, I got some folks. But to be honest with you, probably gonna look at you, probably gonna say, "Wow, I really don't have nobody. I really don't have nobody I can just pour into like that." I don't. I still kind of feel like ain't nobody looking out for Shawty. I kind of still feel that way sometimes.
And it's got to drag on you too, right?
Sometimes it do. Sometimes it do. But then I know I came in this thing by myself, and I know I got to leave out of here by myself. But the people I meet in the meantime, I love on and I hug on and I care for. And maybe, I tell you the story. My mom was locked up for 33 years in prison, in and out of prison. And she would watch me, my activism from television in prison and stuff. And she called me one time. She said, "Boom." I guess something must be going on. I don't know what I was doing, but it was hot. It was all over the TV, and my face was all in it. I don't know what it was. It was something that was happening, but my face was all over the TV. So mom was watching TV down there from TDC. She called me and she said, "Boom, what are you doing? You all on TV and this black with these people toting guns. Boom. What you doing?" And I explained to her what project was happening at the time. She said, "Boom, but I be so scared for you." I say, "Mommy, do you want me to quit? Because if you want me to quit, I quit, Mommy." She say, "No, Boom, you go ahead." So I always say, if my mama said for me to go, I'm going. My mama said, "Go, Boom, you go. You better go out there. 'Cause I be scared for you," which mama has a right to be. But if my mama said go, I went on and went. And when she was sick and dying, I had to go and I had to go down Bay City, Texas. They had her in a prison nursing home, and her spine was open and she had bed sores and everything. And I went to see her, and she say, in her typical Lucille Green fashion, because remember, she robbed the banks and she was a gangster. She said, "I told them motherfuckers my daughter was coming. I told you motherfuckers my daughter was coming. I told you son of a bitches my daughter was coming." Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I got to say, when you say you make sure you love on people and everything, you make sure you try to treat people kindly and everything. You've always treated me very well for no reason at all. From the moment we met, I think almost a couple of years ago now, when I was working at the county party. You've always treated me well, so thank you for that. Because there's levels to this, and I'm far beneath everybody else. So appreciate you. Appreciate you for treating me so kindly.
I tell you this, if I love on you, if I care for you, if I let you in my circle, you're very, very loved and you're very, very cared for. Because my circle is as small as a mosquito's asshole. That's how tight I am
Hmm.
about people that I care for. It's about as tight
Yeah.
as people that I care for. It don't get no tighter than that.
Well, you said you were going to bring the visuals, and you definitely brought in this episode.